Hello and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, you magnificent beast. That's what you get for subscribing, by the way. Second welcome at the start of this video. But enough of this intro. I want to get right to the point. If you're a WoW refugee, if this is your first time considering Final Fantasy XIV as a game that you might really want to dive into and play, or perhaps you're thinking about maybe it's time to return to this game after a long break, I'm making this video for you. Now, personally speaking, I enjoyed playing WoW with my friends, but I found that as they kind of left the game or went off to play other games, I was alone, and honestly, I didn't like it, and it really changed the way that I talk and I recommend Final Fantasy XIV to people as a result. So in this video, I want to focus in on three key areas. One, the common critiques that Final Fantasy XIV faces and what drives people to actually quit the game, especially early on. Two, things that you should know about Final Fantasy XIV that make it similar or perhaps make it even different from World of Warcraft. And three, where you should go from here if you do decide to jump in. If after this video you're looking for more in-depth guides about class selection or perhaps getting started, I've got those linked in the description, one of the top links for you. And we also have a playlist for you to check out if you're looking for more updated guides. But beyond those videos themselves, if you have any questions, you can just let me know in the comments below. Now, first things first, if you're new, start with the free trial. It's going to allow you to play this game all the way up to level 60 and through the Heavensward expansion for free. That's no sub, no cost, capital F-R-E-E. You can check out this game and see if it's for you, but here's where we get into the common issues players have with Final Fantasy XIV. Number one, the combat is slow, and number two, the game is story gated. So for the slow combat, you're not wrong in feeling that way, but it's just how the base game is currently. As you reach each milestone that the game has set, which is at 50, 60, 70, 80, and in the new expansion Endwalker, level 90, you'll find that the combat gets fast, and you have two types of actions that you can do, GCD, which stands for Global Cooldown Ability, and OGCD, standing for Off the Global Cooldown. So as you get higher in level, you'll actually start to weave your off the global cooldowns in between your global cooldowns, and you're going to find that combat's going to be rather fast-paced and fun. But this leads us right to the second issue. The game is story-gated. If you ask what's the fastest way to level, the answer is the story. And there's only two options. You can play through the story, or you can skip the story and start at one of the different expansions in the game. So here's where I think I need to pause the video for a second. Final Fantasy XIV is viewed as a Final Fantasy game first, and an MMORPG second. The story is critical for many of the player base, and here's where the following advice is going to be seen as very controversial. If you say ARR is too slow and you're not having fun, you'll be greeted with the line, quote unquote, it gets better. This is true, it does get better. But just as I was told that about Shadowlands, that it gets better, I have a hard time trying to justify that it gets better is more than just enough to have a bad experience. However, there's an option that you can consider if you wish. Final Fantasy XIV is broken up into different chapters in this epic that concludes with Endwalker. Now it concludes, but it doesn't end. That's something we're going to talk about more later this year, so don't worry about the game going away anytime soon. Just this epic saga is concluding, and we're going to have a whole new future to discuss here in a few months. So just kind of, pay attention. It should be pretty exciting. Now, if you have A Realm Reborn, which is the base game, then you actually have Heavensward, then you have Stormblood, followed by Shadowbringers, and finally it concludes with Endwalker. Each expansion tells their own story, but across all the expansions, they're actually telling one masterful saga. The neat thing is, Shadowbringers is actually designed as a new entry point of the story itself. That, and with the addition of New Game Plus, you can actually go to any part of the story or chapter before. So for example, if you're really stuck and not enjoying A Realm Reborn, you can actually jump right into Shadowbringers and experience that story's expansion, the characters, and more. And then, if it does pique your interest in the story and the lore, you can actually New Game Plus it all the way back to ARR, or any of the previous expansions, stories, and chapters all contained within. It gives you a lot of flexibility, so you're not necessarily having to say goodbye to the story. You just might be experiencing it a la the Star Wars saga, in which that you kind of watch those videos out of order to kind of get the bigger picture. So keep that in mind. Now there's a real world cost to this option, but if you keep hearing that it gets better and you keep quitting around level 30 or 40, well, you're never really going to experience the better part of this game. But if you're enjoying the pace, and just pretty much ignore this option and just dive right in. So now that we've talked about the common issues some players have with Final Fantasy XIV, let's dive into what you might enjoy about this game. Now in 14 you can play all the classes, which upgrade to the job system later in this game, on one character. You can make other characters too, by the way, so you can actually play through the story again if you wish. But you actually have a lot of flexibility, and many of the roles share similar gear sets so that you can find different playstyles to choose from, all without having to grind out too much gear for each specific class. Now this video isn't going to tell you which class or job to pick, but the link video in the description is going to get you what you want and what you need to get started. But more than any of the classes, the World of 14, it does a great job at rolling out content updates, usually around 3.5 months per each major patch, pandemic excluding that time frame, for example. Now, which means that you're going to find lots to do and to experience, especially if you're new. And if you're a veteran like me, you're going to find lots of reasons to jump back in and play the game, but it doesn't punish you for taking too long of breaks either, as the current endgame cycle is pretty well defined at this point. Over the course of an expansion, the game will receive 5 major patches and 5 minor patches, along with hotfixes and a few other updates here and there. On the even-numbered patches, you'll actually see the gear level go up, and it's more ways for you to catch up to the current highest gear level as well. At the 0.4 patch, you're going to see the highest level gear in the game, and then that gear is going to carry forward into the next expansion without you having to worry about upgrading it too much until you get closer to the end game. But more than all of that, the game features the best controller support on any MMORPG on the market. And as more MMOs, WoW included, start supporting the system, it's something that really adds a lot of depth and flexibility when playing this game. So some things that you won't find in 14 that are in WoW is one of the big ones is add-ons. Now the system has a very flexible UI editor, allowing you to have a lot of control, but really overall, they don't exist. There is one add-on though that is quote-unquote unofficial, and it's against terms of service. So we'll have more about that here soon. Pretty much if you want to get into the raiding scene, if you want to be competitive in that regards, you're going to need to have this add-on, and it's only PC only. We'll cover that again more in a future video when I talk about how to really kind of master your class. So just kind of keep it locked here to the channel for more on that later. Anyway, in the end, I think 14 is going to feel both familiar enough for you to feel right at home, and different enough for you to be excited about the world, the characters, and the mystery around everything. So where do you go from here? Well, more than just me, there's a host of great content creators in this community. And the subreddit is also a great source of news and info. But be warned that whenever on Reddit or other social media sites, the community is both very welcoming, but it also feels very easily attacked with any critique that you might put towards the game, even if it is positive critique. So just as a general rule, feel free to share any issues that you have with me in the comments or on Discord, but just as a note, we've seen some pretty crazy examples to quote-unquote nice community, so just be careful out there. It's a crazy world. Outside of that, if you need any help, just ask. I love multiplayer RPGs, and just like to really help people out when I can. With this, hopefully I didn't waste any of your time, and I'll wrap up this video and welcome you to Final Fantasy XIV. Thanks for checking out this video. I hope that you enjoyed it and your time with this game, or any other game that you choose to call home. Now for Ginger Prime, my name is Brian. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I will see you next time, but until then, take care. This video is sponsored by me, Ginger Prime. Hopefully you'll check out my podcast channel, Ginger Gaming Radio, which we have lots of guests, lots of great conversations, and even more highlights. Links are in the description below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.